Is up, everybody? You are back with Skylar, Hoke here, and Tom Jacobs 2 days in a row. Hopefully you already tuned into our European Tour picks and bets on Mayo Media Network. With the European Tour kind of getting involved in quite a bit of the events on the PGA Tour, this run that we had with the WGC over in Florida, we now have the Players Championship. We get the match play coming up, and of course the Masters. There's a slew of guys that are coming over from our favorite tour and making consistent appearances on the PGA. So why not take a little time out, 10, 15 minutes here? This is set at the beginning of the podcast. You know, Tom and me like to talk quite a bit. So hopefully we stay within our window. But let's dive into our favorite golfers for the week coming over. I actually, a decent chunk of my betting card is these Euro faithfuls for us. But Tom, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, well, it's an interesting point you make about so we've had Bay Hill, we've had the WGC just gone. We've got this week, and this week's reserved for like the guys that are in the top 50, top 100 in the world, right? But we've already spoken about on the previous show that the European Tour might be being played in Florida for 3 weeks. So it's a good idea to see the guys that are acclimatizing to the Players Championship, to Bay Hill, to Honda next week. You know, see where these guys take you, and hopefully we can get the viewers to kind of get a bit of perspective on these guys. There's a couple of guys we've mentioned earlier in the year and waiting for them to be long odds, and this is the week. So, let's get into it.
Yep, and you're exactly right. I mean, the top of the board, I mean, 2 or 3 of the bets that we have, I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that they were European Tour golfers only. You know, you look at what Hatton is, Hatton was 18-1 trying to, go back to back for victories last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It seriously was not that long ago that he was, breaking through on the European Tour and getting to the status he now is. And those are the golfers that, with the opportunity they get of a stretch, I mean, we're going to get a decent mix of them in the WGC match play, just like we did at the concession. So, I mean, there's huge opportunities again for golfers to leap their career years forward by taking advantage at the Players in these big events. So I think you have the shortest one up there of the odds boards where you're starting off. I don't know. We're right in the middle of it together, but who's number one on your list that you're diving into?
Yeah, so number one for me would be Tommy. I think that, he's a guy that I always think he's too short in Europe. I think that there's always question marks about what it is that he's going to do. His putting might not be what it needs to be. His last 2 full weeks here, he's finished 5th and 7th. I bet him yesterday because we get 10 places over here at 40-1, and I kind of expected him to finish 2nd, 3rd, maybe even win at Bay Hill yesterday. So I was like, right, take it before he goes 25-1. He didn't. He didn't get to put on that crisp white polo and those lovely locks and that cardigan that would have suited him so well. But this is what Tommy Fleetwood's been like recently. But we're looking at a guy, I think 7 or 8 places is for the each way. That's where he probably is at the moment. But it would be a great step for him to go and win this event, because we've seen that this event elevates people. It elevated Stenson, elevated Sergio Garcia, Adam Scott. These guys have all gone from what Tommy Fleetwood is now to the next stage before winning major championships. And he's already had those chances at majors, and now he wants to get a win at this sort of event.
Absolutely. And I'm in there with you with Tommy. I mean, the one thing it seems over, if you put his 2 plays aside, the European Tour and the PGA Tour, he's lights out tee to green every single week on the European Tour. He's top 5, it seems, almost every time in approach. He just might not take advantage of the putter, and if he does, he wins European Tour events. When it comes over to the States recently, before the last 2 tournaments, those irons were not traveling with him. It wasn't, where he was giving himself the chances like he did at Bay Hill, like he did at concession, to really, rack up the birdies. I mean, you would have thought yesterday would have been the shot where, the conditions are up, he's going to be right in the mix. And unfortunately, that wasn't there with his off the tee game. But what he has shown at TPC Sawgrass in the past, obviously 2 5th place or 2 inside top 5 places for him. Last year, the 1 round wasn't too pretty for him, but luckily for us, that's thrown out. There's no finish for it. And it was nice. Some of the books here in the United States opened Fleetwood with some 50s. There was even some 55s, 365 at open. So if you can get some decent places at these books that are, elevating things for the Players Championship, I am 100% in with you on Tommy Fleetwood. Who's next?
So for me, he's a guy that I always say is too short. There's a couple of times you put him up where I said the scoring's going to get too far away from him. Christiaan Bezuidenhout, Christian, as we like to call him, or Bez. He look, if it gets tough here, if he gets to 10 under par, 12 under par max, that's going to be right in his wheelhouse. It's going to be absolutely perfect for him. He's just come off a 7th place finish at Bay Hill, where when everyone else was kind of faltering, he was rock solid, right? He shot +1, same as Lee Westwood. Both of them look really, really good. They talk in commentary like he's going to win a major championship. You've got to pump the brakes a little bit. It's not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. But getting a win in this kind of event or contending is a surefire way of getting yourself some invites and a surefire way of looking at that card. And that's got to be his focus at the moment. And for me, I really like the fact that he played the Wyndham Championship in the RBC Heritage as well. I mean, Wyndham's a massive correlated course to this. A lot of guys win there and then win here. Siwoo, Webb, Sergio. And also the Heritage, obviously Pete Dye track, and he's played both of those. Didn't play spectacularly well, but good enough for someone of his level going on to the PGA Tour. And last year, before it all got cancelled off, he was 2 off the lead behind Hideki. He shot 65. That's huge on your first look at the course.
Yep. I mean, to me, when I really like to play Bez or take advantage of the betting markets of him is the weeks where around the green game is needed, because I mean, he's honestly, I think, a top 10 player in the world around and on the greens. And that travels, he put that on display last week. He's had top finishes in strong events. So absolutely think Bez can give it a go there. Before we get any deeper and talk about these guys, one that's standing out to me that was available, let's see his current odds. There was a 50 earlier today on him. And to me, it's almost some of the best form around the world. Yeah, 55-1 at Bet365 for Paul Casey.
Yeah.
Paul Casey's recent stretch of golf, it's just, top 3, 4 in the world right now with what he's doing. I mean, he goes from what it was a 8th place finish at the American Express, I believe it was. And then he made his way over to the European Tour, picked up a victory, then went and finishes 12th the week right after, flies back to the United States, finishes 5th, and then 10th again last week. And his irons are continuing to be excellent. What he has done from a tee to green basis is, again, right up there with the best in the world. So I was floored, truthfully, to see him at 55-1. And we talked a little bit before the show. Bookmakers aren't 100% sure how to price the Players' Championship. I mean, it is one of the wildest weeks, I guess, from a volatility standpoint. I don't factor course history near as much sometimes because it just seems there can be miscut, top finish followed up by a miscut. We're in a weird state of things where, it's now played for the 2nd time in March. It used to be a May event. Are they going to play it soft condition wise? I just think the game of what Casey is playing so well at, the approach is going to lead to a really, really strong performance this week. So for the 55-1, him and then Fleetwood, right before that, those are my 2 anchors that I'm going to with the European Tour players this week at the Players' Championship.
So yeah, the only thing, and you hit the nail on the head, is the volatility of the course, and this is why you can kind of ignore it. He's never really shined here. Like he's never had a top 10 or anything like that. And as you said, and rightly so, really, you can ignore it. Players have come and come over that. The only thing that bothers me a bit is he had this kind of stretch of form in 2019 is very similar to this, where he was finished in 2nd. He finished really high up in Mexico, and then he went on to win the Valspar a start later, and he was playing that well and missed the cut. Now, that speaks to the fact of how volatile the course is. So you're getting 55-1 about, like you say, probably a top 5 golfer in the world at the moment. It doesn't matter if the win come on European Tour. It's in a really strong field.
Oh, yes.
Really strong opponent. And he can win now on the PGA Tour. There's always been this knock that he hasn't really done it, but he's won twice and he's been twice in Florida, which is really key. So there is a bit of reservation just based on the course history, but like you say, man, is the way he's hitting the ball, and if he can just keep himself out of trouble, it just seems to obviously be a blow-up hole every now and then around here, which happens to the best. Even the guys that we look at that we see as consistent here, they're still like 20th place, 30th place. It's really, really hard to keep getting top 10s at this golf course.
You're exactly right. And I'll take the points. I mean, if you look at what he was priced at in 2019. He was 33-1 that week with a very similar stretch of form. So again, we're pricing in a little bit more, with of course some of the top of the board being in great form too. So it just felt like a number worth the risk. I mean, to see him almost, longer than Fleetwood, it's kind of a speculative bet on Fleetwood that we're on. Casey's in that form right now. So I'm willing to go into there. One more for you, right, Tom? You're getting real risky on this one.
So I said to you earlier on in the year that I'd wait until he was in a big event, and it's Sergio Garcia. He's won this event. He's had 2 seconds here. He's had a third. And we just talked about how volatile this golf course is. I mean, I've only got the last 15 years of form out, but hasn't missed a cut. That is a ridiculous stretch at this golf course. And it hasn't been, it hasn't been superb every single time. I mean, he's finished his range from first to 54, 70th 2 years ago. But he gets it done. He's going to be there for the 4 days. He's probably going to rinse the ball on 17 because that's Sergio Garcia. But he's had a second, a first, another second, an eighth and a third, striking the ball incredibly well. We expected a little bit more from him, didn't we, on the Middle Eastern swing?
Yep.
But he's hitting the ball so well. And that has been what Sergio Garcia has done for his career, and Paul Casey. And you talk about Paul Casey and what his odds would be. If Paul Casey finished top 10 once in the Players' Championship, he'd be back down to that 30-1 number.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a case of 2 shots over a course of a week, which can be made up in one hole. Sergio's got these top 10s. He's got 4, 5, 10 top 10s and a win. What does a guy need to do? Is the people basically, I think, are believing that he can't win on the PGA Tour anymore, which seems strong considering it's only 3 years ago he won the Masters.
And he won it's not even that long ago that he just won a PGA Tour event. So, I mean, the approach game that he has displayed virtually since the restart of golf, it's nowhere near what he is being priced into his odds. Again, I think he's 7,500 on DraftKings this week, a very fair price. They really, as we transition into looking at DraftKings and talk probably through a couple deeper down the board that, showed out a little bit last week that, 3 of them actually that made the cut and played quite well. But the Players' Championship gives DraftKings major pricing, if they consider the elevated event to, bring in more newcomers for the first time. So let's feed in your favorite golfers and be able to play everybody under 50,000 quite easily. And they won't be flocking to some of these guys deeper down the board who they are not familiar with. And 2 golfers that had, excellent weeks. Lee Westwood. I mean, Westy, I wanted it so bad for him yesterday. That would have been spectacular for him to beat Bryson.
Yeah. I mean, he did everything that, because everyone will see the fact that he went into the final round, he had the lead, and he didn't get it done again, right? And there was a pretty damning statistic, his 54-hole leads on the PGA Tour, but they were like, he'd come second in the US Open. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, stop making it look like it's a failure. He missed a couple of putts, but he made some that he's not generally been making in those situations for a long time. And that one he made on 18. So, and you can see by the expression of his face, he's like, the game's where he's got a chance here, and Bryson slammed it home and ruined all our dreams. But it just speaks to the man and the longevity of his career, how well he played, and it just shows that you can compete on this side of the tour, even in this kind of event, if you are in control of your game.
Yeah, and Westy was under 1% owned last week. Of course, he will be more popular this week due to a top performance, 7,200 for him. Another person who I thought played a little bit sneaky, a guy that we're huge fans of, that we think the world of, and has a lot of opportunity ahead of him. And he's priced at $6,700 this week. Again, betting markets for these guys, debutantes at the Players' Championship. It's not something where I am saying Robert McIntyre is going to be hosting the trophy on Sunday, even though I would die if he does. 6,700 for the way he played on Sunday. Those conditions were made for him. Shot even par. That was the 4th best round of the day. I think only 3 people were under par. Battled back, and I think it's just a matter of time before Bob breaks through with a T20 on the PGA Tour and really locks up again his spot in Augusta, which he is fighting for. I think he's 43rd or 44th in the world, right on that fringe. I think McIntyre, even though he's super good off the tee, his approach game can get really hot, and I think he can play well here at Sawgrass again.
I think he's a guy as well that he's quite aggressive by nature, which may not help him here, but he also seems to be, he gets a bit frustrated in the greens, but generally speaking, he can kind of forget about holes very quickly, and I think that's quite important here. And the stat you'll see all passed over Twitter is that winners have to have finished tied 22nd the week before. He was tied 36th last week, and I think there wasn't much difference between 36th and 22nd. He's just played in the work day. Again, he wasn't very good. I think the European score got this massive sort of slap in the face, didn't they? Everyone was posting at the bottom half of the leaderboard, Euro guys. But look, it happens. They came out and showed what they can do on Bay Hill. And you've got to believe in the talent. Eddie Pepperell finished third here, or whatever it was, a couple of years ago to Rory. If that guy can do it, then Robert McIntyre can as well.
And we'll close out with the final one, who outside of, flubbing a handful of chips over the last 2 weeks, actually would have been some really strong finishes. I mean, he played horrific to open up Sunday. Saturday wasn't too pretty either. For one of, again, our favorite golfers on the European Tour, and it's Victor Perez. Victor Perez, somebody I think Tom has put up every single week on our European Tour picks and bets show when he's in the field. He was right there with DJ, in Saudi. Perez actually sneaky enough. What was he? -3 last year in the opening round at Sawgrass. So you don't know what that week could have held for him, but he is just a terrific iron player that, at his peak, I think he can take on this course quite well.
Got to keep the 11s off his card, isn't he, Sky? Once he does that, he'll probably win a golf tournament. But I'll say it every week. JP Fitzgerald's going to be a huge influence. He's been here. He's been in these golf tournaments. He's been there with the world number one. He's going to take Victor there. He shot 3 under last year. If he can get last week's kind of bad holes out of his mind, then, they're there, aren't they? These are the guys. Yep. Bernd Wiesberger's there. There's a couple of guys that are really, going to have to be fillers for your DraftKings team. There's going to have to be guys you take at this range. If you don't take all, Americans and you do take some of these Europeans, these are the guys to take. And just going back to Westwood, I mean, he's got a pretty spectacular record here in recent years when he's played. His last 4 starts, he's got a 4th and 8th and a 6th for his last 5 starts. So aside from that, he's very good. So if you believe in the talent and believe he can carry it back to back, then that may be one to play in. It's just that he's going to obviously grant that ownership and be a popular bet on it.
Yep. And that's, a quick deep dive, and we already approaching 20 minutes. I knew it was easily going to happen with Tom and myself.
It wasn't 10 minutes. Oh.
No, I know. We try our best. But of course, we're excited for the weeks. Again, so we have a great stretch coming up. The WGC match play, you'll get to hear from us a little bit. That's a Monday night draft, I believe, or drawing of how that goes. Hopefully we can get a little bit up on that as well. But again, our picks for the week. So Tom, you have 3 of the bets, correct?
Yeah, so for Euro guys, I've got some other guys on the PGA as well. But for me, it was Tommy Fleetwood I placed yesterday, hoping for a better performance at Bay Hill, but here we are. Christiaan Bezuidenhout and Sergio Garcia is definitely my favourite bet of the 3 because his form's just electric here. It's just very consistent. He's won that Sanderson Farm, which people have obviously dismissed already because he's 90-1 again.
Yep. And I'm in with you on Tommy. I'm also getting in on Casey, betting on that recent form and the pretty deep odds that we are getting for him. And then we're keeping an eye on that trio for DraftKings. Westwood, which I believe he is 7,200, Perez, who is 6,900, and then McIntyre, who is 6,700. So, a trio where Westwood will bring in the ownership. The other 2, fly under that radar and have a really good chance to compete and take advantage of these opportunities. So again, you can find this, Mayo Media Network. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. And then if you want to listen on your podcast platforms, that's going to be The Mix, Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets. You can find myself and Tom Jacobs. Every week there's European Tour golfers teeing up. We'll be talking. So thank you guys so much and good luck at the Players Championship.
Cheers, Guy.